There's a certain area of your life where you're always going to have energy, enthusiasm, and passion. And if you can harness this and tap into it, it can be your biggest strength. And it's really good to use for your career and your purpose and your mission in life. But it could also become your point of addiction and being obsessed with things and compulsive. And some of your most difficult to change habits can show up because of this placement. And what I'm talking about is your placement of Rahu and what house it's in. And thank you to Lacey424 on YouTube for suggesting this. And if you want to see something in future episodes, just leave a comment on Spotify or YouTube, what you would find helpful. And as we go through this episode, look at your own chart. Get your free birth chart at quietmindastrology.com. Look where Rahu is in your houses. I'll show examples today and how to look for it. And then let me know, do the predictions resonate for you? How does it show up for you? Anything you'd add to what I'm sharing? Let me know in the comments on Spotify and YouTube. I'm Jeremy Devins. I've been working in astrology for 20 plus years, and I love this work, and I love to do lots of deep research. So everything I'm sharing is coming from thousands of case studies and real world research and real world readings with real people. And what we're going to look at today, if you're watching the video, is just Rahu in the different houses. So when you get your free chart, what you're looking at in the North Indian chart is the lines represent the houses. And wherever RA is, Rahu, that's the north node of the moon. And that's indicating these things of like passion, purpose, drive. In the mythology, Rahu was originally essentially a demon who snuck in with the angels and the devas. The Asura snuck in with the devas. And they were gathering to drink the elixir of immortality. And Rahu snuck in there and was undetected for a while, and then got to drink one drop of this elixir. As soon as the drop of liquid touched Rahu's tongue, he was beheaded by one of the other gods for sneaking in there because he's a demon, but he was already immortal. So the head is what we call Rahu, the north node of the moon, and the body that remains is what we call Ketu, the south node of the moon. So when we're tracking it in actual astronomy, we're tracking the north and south node of the moon. And I recommend using the true node and not the mean node. In short, the true node is just the actual placement of the nodes of the moon at that moment. The mean node is a calculation average based on other things. So I recommend just use the true node. That's what I use. And when you get your chart on my site, you'll get the true node placement of Rahu and Ketu. This is why sometimes you'll hear Vedic astrologers talk about different timing of Rahu and Ketu transits, which happen every 18 months. And for you in your birth chart, you have a Rahu return every 18 years. Interesting number, right? In the US and a lot of places in the world, it's around that age of 18 that you're considered a legal adult. And now you're in a new phase of life. And around age 36, usually you've developed some sort of career or family or lifestyle that you've lived through, and you go into a new phase to the next 18 years of sort of living in that established reality. And the next 18 years after that, starting to wind down that established reality, maybe move into a different one. But either way, Rahu is bringing us back to what really matters. What are you really driven towards? What is important to you? And in your birth chart, the house it's in is the area of life it's going to be driven towards. So you want to harness that and tap into it as much as you can. In your D9 chart, this is what it evolves towards. So your birth chart is always primary, always the most important. But as you go through life, especially after you get married or you have a long-time relationship with somebody, or after mid-30s, the D9 is more activated. It's always there. It's just like a zoomed-in version of your main birth chart. But you're evolving towards this. And that evolution could happen very fast, very slow, or very, very delayed. So that evolution is shown in the house of your D1 and D9. And when you get your free chart on my site, you see both the D1 and the D9. So mainly just focus on the birth chart though for now to keep it simple. But what I'm talking about, the houses, applies mainly to the birth chart and loosely to the D9 also in your evolution in life. But that's a different topic. If you want to go deeper into that kind of stuff, get a free reading, get a free birth chart and the free training, and then get a reading with me, and this will help you decode your chart. And you can also join the mentorship or the wait list if you see this at quietmindastrology.com. if the wait list is there or if the mentorship's open right now. You'll see that. And that's where you can really deep dive into all this. And a lot of the interpretations I'm sharing are similar to ones and based on the ones I share in the mentorship program, where we go super deep into astrology in your chart. So now in the timestamps, you can jump to where your Rahu is placed in your houses, in your birth chart and your D9. And also I recommend looking at people you know very closely. It'll help you understand them and help you understand the Rahu energy more. And also during transits, make sure, hope you didn't jump ahead too fast. Because when Rahu's transiting, it's over that house. Like when Rahu's in Aquarius, you look where Aquarius is in your chart, and it's like Rahu is visiting that house, which Aquarius could be in any house, depending on your rising sign. Like if you're Aquarius rising, it's your first house. If you're Capricorn rising, it's your second house, and so on. So look for the transits as well. Come back to this video in this podcast, or if you're listening on Spotify or YouTube, come back to this whenever Rahu and Ketu transit, because then you're going to help you understand how to work with the energy of that 18-month cycle. All right, so let's jump into it. So Rahu in the first house, the sense of self and the body. So generally, this is going to make somebody very ambitious and determined and driven in their nature. There's going to be a hunger for self-discovery and personal success, a lot of interest in exploring new and unconventional paths. Rahu represents new and unconventional things. You have a capacity for taking risks and being innovative, and there's a potential for self-transformation and growth throughout life. This is a very transformative energy. It puts Ketu in the 7th house, so a lot of focus on the self. And of course, everything has a potential challenging side. So this could lead you to potentially being selfish and just doing what's best for you. It could lead to being impulsive and just very quick in your actions, leading to accidents and things like that. There's a potential to be deceptive or manipulative because the first house is the self. Rahu deceived its way into the gods to become immortal, and this is part of the self. So that deception can be used in good ways, like in magic or entertainment or arts or performing arts. You're playing a character, you're playing a role, but it also could be used for manipulation or harm. There's a challenge in maintaining stability due to restlessness, maybe too much energy, too many ideas. It could be disregarding of others' needs, too self-centered, and it could be difficulty in discerning reality from illusions and delusions, because Rahu is a bit intense and again, it's like deceived its way into the gods. So there's this element there of how do you want to use this ability to be persuasive or deceptive? It can be used like an undercover cop or a private investigator, that can be used for good in a lot of ways, but it needs to be used in some way. And just personal growth, taking care of your body, taking care of yourself is a big strength. But you could be like too obsessive, harsh on yourself, critical, always finding something wrong with your body. That's a negative side of this. So whenever you notice you're going too far into the negative side, just do more things on the positive side. Now, if you look at your chart and you see Rahu's in the 2nd house, 2nd house has to do with assets and resources. So there's a big drive towards material success, wanting to have nice things. There's a potential for sudden financial gains and opportunities just coming throughout your life. There's a desire for wealth accumulation and material comforts, and wanting your home, your life to just feel like nice and comfortable. There's a desire to accumulate wealth and comforts. There's interest in speculative investments or unconventional earnings. So you may find unique ways to earn income. And there's a charismatic and persuasive way of communicating. And people find you charming and charismatic. On the challenging side, there could be a tendency towards materialistic pursuits that lead to more dissatisfaction. It's like there's never enough. Like the character in the movie Wall Street, they're like, how much is enough? He says, more. And that's the end. And that's the kind of nature of Rahu in 2nd. It's like there's a need for more and more. There could be some deceptive financial schemes or illusions about wealth, getting involved in like pyramid schemes or Ponzi schemes or things like that. Maybe even not even consciously. but that's a potential. There's challenges in handling impulsive spending or speculative risks. So it's just a desire to like have nice things. Potential for manipulative or dishonest communication for your gains. Second house is about gains. Rahu can be deceptive. There's difficulty in managing financial stability due to erratic pursuits. So generally, you're going to be driven towards stability and security, but there may be multiple ideas of how to do this. You could do stocks or bonds or this investment or property, or there's a little too much energy in this area, and there's a need to find contentment and peace. There also could be obsessive behavior around the food and what you eat. Second house has to do with the mouth. And this is, can be very challenging for people, eating disorders and things like that. So it's important to harness that energy. Like being a nutritionist is a great way to harness it, or learning about health in a way where maybe you want to measure and be precise and intentional about your food, but not be harsh on yourself or too perfectionistic about it. If you have Rahu in your third house, the third house is skill development. So this is a very good place for Rahu to be in general. Often these people become very good at sales and marketing and communication, which third house represents. So there's an ambitious and courageous way of communicating, which is very good in sales and marketing. There's an interest in unconventional or innovative ideas and just learning new things. You hear about some new project or skill, like, oh, that'd be cool to learn, a new hobby. There's potential for success through unconventional methods, creative ways of just becoming very good at things and skillful at things. Capacity for networking and making impactful connections. There's a social energy. It's very good for like finding friends, meeting people, connecting with others. There's a desire for learning and exploring a lot of diverse topics. So I consider this one of the best houses for Rahu to be in. And if you have it, then it's just got to be harnessed. And it's a little easier to harness it to learning skills and adapting and making friends and things like that. Now, on the challenging side, there could be a tendency towards manipulation or deceptive communication. Third house communication, Rahu can be deceptive. Challenges in handling restlessness or impulsivity, starting too many ideas, too many hobbies. This person might have like a guitar that's getting dusty and a treadmill and a painting easel and knitting equipment, and it's just kind of too many hobbies can happen here. Risk of sudden disruptions in relationships with siblings. Third house represents siblings, and Rahu can be a bit intense here, but also can be very caring and protective of the siblings. There's a potential for over-exaggeration or grandiosity or unrealistic expectations on yourself and others, because third house is the communication. Rahu can be a bit extra. Difficulty in staying grounded or practical in communication. So Rahu just needs to be directed. It's a lot of energy and a lot of potential, especially in the third house. And it needs to be directed in skills and hobbies that really matter to you, and expressing and connecting with others. This is a very social placement. Social life is very important. If you have Rahu in your fourth house, then this is bringing a lot of intensity into the home. So there's an ambition and drive for material success and property-related matters like buying land, improving the home, buying houses, things like that. There's an interest in exploring unconventional ideas within the family. So maybe you're bringing in interesting ideas, or you're the one who's talking about conspiracies and astrology and weird stuff and aliens that your family is kind of weirded out by. There's a desire for a unique and non-traditional home environment. So these people tend to have like lots of interesting artifacts, and like they got this mask in Africa and this singing bowl in Tibet, and these kind of interesting things around their home from their world travels, and eccentric, unique expressions of how they develop their home and design their home. There's great potential for sudden gains and opportunities related to real estate, and it's a good use of this energy to be focused on like buying land, real estate, property, vehicles, also any sort of vehicle or property can be very good with this. And there's great potential to like suddenly have opportunities and resources and help with that. On the challenging side, there could be a tendency towards instability or chaos within the family. Now, this could be your childhood family, but also as an adult, if you have children and create a family, there can be some intensity there. There are challenges with maintaining a sense of security at home. So it's important to live in a safe neighborhood and have a security system if you have this placement. You don't need to worry about it or overthink it. But there's a great protective energy with this. And it's very common that people who have this like to be at home. So if like you want to work at home, but maybe your partner also works at home and you have kids and there's pets and it's like a lot of activity in the home, you're going to thrive in having the space to be in your thing and do your thing at home and whatever that is. So making sure that there's a way to navigate that with your living situation so you feel like you can do your thing. There can be restless and dissatisfaction despite material gains. Rahu's always looking for more. The fourth house is your property, home, and family. These are like very foundational security kind of things, root chakra kind of things. But Rahu is never done. It's always moving. It's always like thinking more in general for every Rahu placement. So you might be thinking you buy a home and you want to redecorate and you want to remodel and you want another home and you want to travel. And, not travel necessarily as much, but maybe you have a second home somewhere. That's something I see a lot with Rahu in the fourth, like having multiple homes, having big homes. There's potential conflict arising from unconventional beliefs or behaviors, particularly with the family and home. So this could be like different religious beliefs or spiritual beliefs. This is a more challenging position for Rahu, so it's important to harness it well. But I see people do harness it well. Like oftentimes people, especially like a lot of actors happen to have this. Like they'll go work for a while, but they're kind of detached from it and they spend a lot of time at home and they don't really talk about their family life. And their work is kind of necessary, but they're more homebodies, and that's common with this placement. And from what I know of those people, like very loving, happy families, but it's a lot of things we don't see it as much. Like it's more happening at home. Like we don't really see what's going on there. And I think if it's harnessed in a way like for example, people I'm thinking of, like they love their kids, they love their family, they kind of work, they like their work, but they just need to do it, and they're excited to get back to the home. That's like a passionate energy for the family at home. Of Rahu in the fourth is a good expression of this. If you have Rahu in your fifth house, or whenever it's transiting there, this can bring unconventional and innovative thinking in your creativity. This is one of the best placements for creative work. I consider this a positive placement of Rahu as well. There's great ambition and drive towards success, especially in things that require speculation, like entrepreneurial pursuits, speculative gains, like even gambling. Be careful with that. I'm not recommending anybody gambles, but there could be good luck with gambling. It also could become addiction with gambling with Rahu here. But it's a risk-taking kind of energy. It's interested in exploring unique and avant-garde forms of self-expression, like creative arts and things like Yoko Ono or unique artists or avant-garde theater or performance art. There's potential for sudden gains or recognition in your creative fields. So this could be that you want to write a book or you want to create a podcast or media, social media, things like this. And there's a lot of passion and drive to it. So these people do very well in film, television, media, things like this. And those things require a lot of movement. So this is a great thing to have there because Rahu is insatiable and ambitious, and the fifth house and media and creativity doesn't end. It's creating. It's always creating. So it's a good place to have something in yourself. But when you have the transits go through here, it's a very creative time in life. On the unfavorable side, there could be a tendency towards erratic decision making in matters of creativity. And it can be difficult to work with somebody who has this as they're so intense about it. There's a risk-taking behavior that could lead to unpredictable outcomes, especially with like entrepreneurial pursuits. Or think of like all the creative changes of somebody like Madonna or David Bowie, like constantly reinventing themselves. That's like a very Rahu in fifth house kind of energy. And when you have that, it's like you could make drastic changes and alienate some people or kind of lose touch with why you started or things like that. Could be some confusions or illusions surrounding your personal ambitions. And Rahu can bring confusion and uncertainty with things. There's a deceptive potential here. So it's good in media because you want to express emotion and express something. And there's a way that it's performance. And Rahu is a great performer. So it could be used for harm as well, though. Being too dramatic, trying to get your way by being dramatic. There's challenges in maintaining stability due to impulsivity. So it's an impulsive energy. It is a fast energy, a creative energy. There's romance here in the fifth house too. So there could be some infidelity, cheating, things like that, of passionate, intense, sudden, just want to go on a date with this person and that person, or suddenly there's a spark with somebody. This can work really well for like open relating dynamics where there's agreements and communication around all that, or for somebody who wants to be more of a single life. But in a marriage, it's important to like keep dating your partner and like keep the sort of romance alive, like new dates, new experiences, things like that. Rahu in the sixth house is a lot of ambition and drive towards achieving success in service-oriented kind of work. Sixth house is about serving and daily kind of routines. Rahu's ambition and drive. So this is really good for like working in a nonprofit or working at a shelter or a pet shelter or donating, volunteering, working at things like that, starting and working in those things. There's interest in innovative and unconventional approaches to handling challenges. So this is a creative problem-solving kind of energy, finding new ways of doing old things. Sixth house is like your daily mundane routine, and Rahu brings like spice and change and new experiences to all of that. So whether it's in your birth chart or when it's transiting there, it brings in this kind of spice and change and new experiences to life. Shakes things up. There's potential for sudden breakthroughs or advancements in the workplace. So like if you have this in your chart, there can be sudden changes at times where you're moving along. It's good to drive that passion into something you care about, like a cause, a mission, an organization. And that will just lead to more of this sort of sudden opportunities and changes. And again, when you have a transit come through here, Rahu transits over your sixth, that can be like sudden breakthroughs and changes, that things that have been stuck for a while. And if you have it in your birth chart, you have a good aptitude for handling complex tasks and projects efficiently. Rahu is a lot of energy to handle daily activities. So there can be very good for like a chief operating officer or somebody who works in a job that requires a lot of moving parts to be aware of, and like a manager, things like that. And finding creative ways to handle it, complex situations like working in coding or IT or medical work. This is very good for health and wellness services, where you've got to know a lot of stuff and be very quick and creative and innovative in your approach. On the challenging side, there's a tendency towards creating conflicts or disruptions in the workplace. This is not the most compliant energy. So it's good for like entrepreneurs or people who are finding innovative ways of doing things, but just doing everything exactly like somebody else wants. There could be conflicts of that, or also could be conflicts of people not following the structure. It depends on the sign Rahu's in here, but the daily routine is meant to be more consistent and like what's happening daily. So Rahu here could be a passion towards maintaining that routine, but also bringing in its own variety and change to it. So if you have it in your chart, you may like variety and change in your daily life, but like that you control it And if someone else is trying to control it, that's where the problem is. And there could be some big conflicts there. There's challenges in maintaining stability due to sudden changes or unpredictability in the daily life. Rahu's like this in the 6th or 8th houses. It can bring like a lot of sudden disruption to your life, especially through transits. But if you have it in your birth chart, you're just kind of used to that. Like you can adapt. There's risk-taking behavior that could lead to mistakes or errors at work. This is not a risk-adverse placement. You're willing to take risks, but it's important to think a couple steps ahead also. Potential for misunderstandings or conflicts with colleagues or subordinates. So Rahu is a bit intense, and it's good to have a daily kind of rhythm that you can channel it, like being physically active every day, like going for a walk or working out to get that energy to move and that passion to move. But yeah, if it's not getting directed and intentionally used, it could turn into some drama. When you have Rahu in your 7th house, in your birth chart or by transits, then this brings more ambition and desire for unconventional and exciting relationships. So you might think that this means you're really passionate about your partner, and it could be. There's also other ways this could show up, but you want to bring in like unique, interesting, new ways of experiencing your relationship, like new dates, new trips, maybe a new partner, maybe just something different and out of the ordinary. There's an interest in unique or unconventional partners or unions. Like you might see this with non-traditional, non-monogamy relationships, things like that, or open relating and stuff like this. Potential for sudden gains or opportunities through the partnerships, and ability to handle complex or diverse relationships. So sometimes when I see this, when it happens through a transit, like Rahu's transiting over the 7th house, or it's in the birth chart, this person might put a lot of energy into relationships, but Rahu is insatiable. So it could be they're trying to date a lot of people and it's not quite working. And then K2 ends up being in the 1st house. So it's like this loss of the self or detachment from the self. So this person can be very generous, very giving to a partner, sometimes to a fault, like codependency or people pleasing. But it's generally a very well-intentioned energy. Like you care a lot. Like it's very good for a relationship coach or somebody who works with relationships, like a family counselor or a relationship coach, where you are working in the realm of relationships a lot, like a dating coach or something like that. There's a lot of interest and passion about a lot of things to do with relationships. So if that's all just put into one person in one relationship, it's a bit much. So this is where it's got to be expressed in some way. It also can be business partnerships. So maybe this person has a lot of different business contracts or business relationships, and it's not just the romantic world. But this is an interesting placement. It's not the easiest placement for Rahu to be, but very good for the things I mentioned. Now, there could be some unrealistic expectations in relationships or illusions. There could be challenges in maintaining stability or commitment in partnerships. Because again, Rahu can be deceptive, Rahu can be intense, insatiable. So it can feel like there's always something kind of missing in the relationship. Now, again, I know people, I've seen many examples where people have a long-term, committed, healthy, monogamous relationship with this placement, but it's not the easiest placement for that. And you can definitely do it, but it's important to find somebody who brings a sort of passion and intensity into the relationship with you. There's a sense of adventure with them, and there's a sense of growth and adventure outside of your relationship, like working with multiple projects in your work or multiple partnerships in your work. And if you want to just be like open or non-monogamous or do something non-traditional, this is great placement for that. Doesn't mean you have to do it or that you have to do monogamy. There's never anything like that. It's just a potential energy. It's the hand that you're dealt, and then you get to choose what to do with it. There could be conflicts or unexpected disruptions in relationships, like sudden changes, sudden moves, sudden breakups, things like that. Not to scare you or like be on the lookout for that, nothing like that, but it's just that can happen. That's a potential. Maybe you've already experienced it. And when it happens, again, you always have choice on how to respond to it. Like life is going to always throw us unexpected, surprising things. So we always choose what to do with it. When Rahu transits here, it can bring in some of those big changes in life, sudden new relationships, sudden breakups, sudden move across the world. These kind of things can happen. It's just like letting go of old ways of being, letting go of old attachments. And when you have it in your birth chart, like you live that way, you experience those things, and you can be very adaptable. And in a committed long-term relationship, it can bring a lot of variety and fun. And there's a potential for issues arising from deception or hidden agendas for yourself, partners, or business partners. Again, not to like be paranoid about it, but it's like do your due diligence when you work with people. And again, this is one of the best ways I've seen this is in people becoming in somehow they're working with other relationships, like relationship coach or counselor, or some working in business partnerships, like managing contracts and talent relations, things like this, where there's a lot of need for navigating a lot of different dynamics. Teachers also do this, where they're understanding all the different dynamics of the students and the relationships of the students. So there's a lot of great uses of this, but it is one of the more challenging places for Rahu to be. But again, I see many people thrive with it. So don't let it scare you or deter you at all. If you have Rahu in your 8th house or you're going through a Rahu in 8th house transit, then this is great interest in things like this: astrology, occult studies, tarot, metaphysical pursuits. This is one of the best placements to be in that work because you have passion for it. You always want to grow. And if it's always directed just at yourself, that's too much for one person. So helping other people transform is a great gift here. There's an ambition and desire for intense transformational experiences. This is a very adventurous, spiritually adventurous kind of energy. Potential for sudden gains or opportunities through hidden means, like somebody just gives you a bunch of money, or you just get a big opportunity from, like you find out you're dating somebody, you find out they're a multimillionaire. These kind of things, Rahu in the 8th house. You hang out with a friend and then they invite you on their like incredible luxury yacht. It's just like unearned resources and income come in. So the 8th house is unearned income, and Rahu brings a lot of drive and passion for that without even really trying. It's like you don't have to try to seek it out. If you do, it can be abusive or deceptive or manipulative, so don't do that. But it is this thing where like you just find out your best friend of 3 years is actually like super wealthy and wants to just like give you a huge gift and blessing, or somebody just volunteers to give you this help and this support or resource. And there's an ability to deal with secrets or hidden matters efficiently. So this is very good in working with like secrets. Like if you're working in a business where you need to have trade secrets, or you're working in like a government agency where everything's confidential, or you're a private investigator, or working in anything like under the surface, hidden. Like this also can be like in the coding of computers and the working in the things that we don't see. Like we see the user interface on computers and the outside of the device. We don't see the inside of the device or the code. That's 8th house kind of matters. So Rahu in 8th house is very good at getting into the code or the underlying thing, or like surgeons, very good with this. Very common for people in like sex working or things like that, where it's considered kind of like a hidden, or we don't talk about that part of society. But Rahu here brings a lot of passion for that and drive in that and success in that. So Rahu is very unconventional, and the 8th house is unconventional and hidden. So this is a very harmonious energy. And with that can bring a lot of infamy or trouble or problems and downfalls, and like getting involved in secret things, and then it suddenly is exposed and has this negative impact on things. That could happen with the Rahu in 8th. There's a tendency for being obsessed or craving forbidden or hidden experiences, like going to some secret trip or some like retreat center in the middle of nowhere. You have to climb a mountain to get there, and it's like this exotic secret thing. And then of course there's many like shadow sides of this too, of getting involved in abusive or manipulative or hurtful things that are hidden from society. But eventually those things often come out. The karma comes back from whatever you do. So uh, Rahu could be a draw to explore those things, but it's very important that it's used intentionally. Like one of the best uses again is like helping other people transform, like astrologer, yoga teacher, transformational coach, because then you're getting that constant transformation experience in your life rather than it always being you. There could be a challenge in handling sudden changes or unexpected events and challenges that arise from that. But that's kind of the norm when you have this placement. And when you go through the transit, it shakes things up a lot. One of the big fears that people have sometimes is like this could indicate affairs or cheating, manipulation in relationships, because the second house, excuse me, the eighth house is second from the seventh. So it's like what you gain from relationship. So you could gain secrecy, manipulation, deception, cheating in the eighth house. It's not always like that. It's a potential. So sometimes people get afraid of that. But I think, again, if it's used in the positive way, then the negative stuff comes out a lot less. It's important to be aware of your shadow and people's shadows, but it's like for yourself, it's like just trying to be as intentional as you can, knowing like everything comes around. Like karma is inescapable. So, don't cheat on people. Don't lie to people. If you can, do your best. If you make a mistake, you apologize. You take responsibility, but it's a potential for that here of deceitful behavior or manipulative tendencies. Again, that can be very useful in things like arts and entertainment, kind of like Rahu in the fifth house, where there's a deception that's like everyone is opting into, and you want to be convinced that they're in that story that you're watching. So in the eighth house, like performance arts, games, sports, things like that, you just like go all into this character, this role, and you can really enjoy it and bring out the gifts of this. There can be difficulty in finding stability and contentment in life, and just lots of hidden things going on, secret things going on. So again, the things I mentioned, the positive side of it, that just brings that out. And then if you go more in the negative, you just lean more towards the positive. When you have Rahu in your ninth house, in your birth chart, or in transits, there's an interest in unconventional or diverse belief systems. Ninth house is beliefs, religion, spirituality. Rahu is unique and diverse and unconventional. So you might get into some really interesting philosophies and off the beaten path kind of traditions, and not just like pure Christianity or Judaism, but maybe you're exploring like some Kabbalah or something that's like less in the mainstream or more esoteric, like the Mary Magdalene path or things like that. There's an ambition and drive towards higher education and spiritual pursuits. These are the people most likely to have letters behind their name, like PhD or LCSW, things like that. There's a drive and desire to keep learning and growing. So these people are going to be drawn to degrees, higher education. And it's important not to become a perpetual student for life and just have the whole alphabet behind your name. But it is a great gift to pursue and explore. And you do very well in academia and spiritual paths as well. Like any spiritual path where it's like there's levels to it, and you could become a priest or a nun, where you kind of work your way up over time. This has the potential for that, the ability to do that, to be a very disciplined follower of a faith, a religion, or belief. There's potential for sudden gains or opportunities related to travel or teachings. So you may be suddenly invited to move abroad and take on this new job, or suddenly invited to this amazing retreat where you get to like go to the pyramids and learn about Egypt, and really cool experiences can come with that. This is a pretty positive place for Rahu to be. And there's an ability to challenge traditions and norms and explore unique ideologies. So this is the kind of person who might travel around the world and then realize like the way they're living is just so weird, and they want to change it, and they want to change society, and they get very passionate about their beliefs and their values and way of thinking, and they want to convert people to that so they could become very strongly driven by their beliefs, but they could also change it. And This person might be like a very devout Christian for a while, and then uh, they have an experience, and now they're an atheist, and they have another experience years later, and now they're a Hindu. And this kind of thing could happen here. They're very passionate about their beliefs, and they might eventually evolve and adopt some sort of like just unconventional way of like synthesizing their worldview. And it's very good as a professor or a teacher as well. So they might be a good person to look to learn these kind of things. And if you want to know like where's a good place to travel, like this is the kind of placement to look to. And when you have this placement come into transits, you may be drawn to these things like going back to school, traveling somewhere interesting, learning some new spirituality or philosophy. On the unfavorable side, there can be a tendency towards obsession or confusion in the matters of faith. So you might be doubting your faith, questioning things, especially when the transits come through the ninth house. If you're born with it, then it's just a perpetual thing. Like always, like this is why they could change and have a sudden experience where they realize this is what they believe, and then they have another sudden experience and they realize that's what they believe. Not necessarily like sequential or like back to back, but over years. There's challenges in finding stability or contentment in their beliefs. And they're going to always be kind of willing to entertain other ideas. Potential for deceitful behavior or manipulation in spiritual pursuits. So this is like charlatans or scammers, or this thing like in the 60s when people started going to India to find their guru, suddenly everybody was a guru. And they realized they can make some good money off these Westerners who don't know anything and just say they're a guru. That's the Rahu in ninth house kind of energy at its maybe most shadow side. Or manipulating for your own gain, or realizing, oh, if people believe this, I can get them to do that, and use these beliefs and these teachings in a way that's deceitful or harmful. And there could be difficulty in reconciling conflicting belief systems. And this like, well, what about that? What about this person said this, and should I follow that? And is this ethical? And is that moral? And is this philosophy right? So when this transit happens, it's kind of a testing of that. But throughout life, if you have this in your birth chart, it's always kind of questioning these things. And from that question, it could be some great conclusions and insights and realizations. And I love, when I was younger, I found this book that was basically just like all the world religions, all the major ones. Like, here's what they say about relationships. Here's what they all say about health. Here's what they all say about money. And just kind of comparing them all. And a lot of times there's a lot of overlap. Rahu here can do stuff like that, like taking all these different ideas and synthesize them. But there's often periods of like questioning it all, and like, why do we have any religions now? Like maybe you do all that work and you kind of synthesize it, and then you question the whole thing, and then you go into nature, and that becomes your god. So this kind of things can happen, but these are the kind of people who have very interesting things to share and insights about what they've learned in life and where they've been and what they've seen. And it's a good person to learn from. So a great teacher, because they're a great student as well. Rahu in the 10th brings all this ambition and drive and passion of Rahu into the career, where those things are very celebrated. So there's an ambition and drive for career success and recognition. These kind of things are highly valued in the West. There's a desire for unconventional or innovative career paths. There's a potential for sudden opportunities or advancements in career, and interest in gaining recognition through unique ways of expressing yourself, unique work, unique ways of working. Essentially, this is very good in the Western world, where work is kind of the main thing. Like when you meet somebody, what do you do? And then you talk about your job. So Rahu here brings a lot of passion and drive to do well in the career, to be a leader, to create, to be innovative. It's a powerful placement. It's very overall positive energy. There could be a tendency towards obsessions or unorthodox methods in career. They could become really obsessed with climbing the corporate ladder or success, and at the expense of others. This can be a very greedy energy of just want to be the best, we want to dominate, eliminate the competition, make the most profit possible at the expense of whatever. They could become like that. There could be challenges in maintaining stability or direction in career choices. Rahu is unconventional, it's insatiable. So you might even do very well in a career path and be like, is this all there is to life? Like, is there something else I should be doing? Maybe I'll try this. Maybe you try that. It's a insatiable energy. So it may be good to have multiple options and like pursuits in life. There's a potential for sudden ups and downs in the professional life, sudden layoffs, changes, needing to move. Rahu brings this kind of instability to things. So that's where having multiple paths can be really helpful. And there's a difficulty in balancing personal ambitions with practicality. Because this kind of person might just be like, we're going to reach this goal, we're going to do that, we're going to finish this project. And it's not practical, especially if they become a boss, like asking too much of their employees that they can realistically deliver. But this is very good in things that move quickly and that require a lot of creative, innovative thinking, like technology, marketing, media, things like this, where you've got to be quick and creative and innovative or get left behind. So Rahu wants to keep you moving in this direction. And it can be a bit much, a bit intense for people to be around, but it's the most celebrated place. Rahu in the 3rd or 10th, like when you have this passion for the 10th house of like career, like these are the two most celebrated and like respected places Rahu can be, which is a challenging energy to work with already. But in the workplace, those things are all celebrated. So it's a good place to have it. If you have Rahu in your 11th house or you're going through a transit of Rahu in the 11th, this brings ambition and drive that can lead to unconventional gains and achievements. So Rahu is ambition and drive, 11th house is gains and achievements, and Rahu is unconventional. So you might find new ways to earn income at this time. It's generally an indicator of increase of income. Also, there can be an insatiability with income of like not knowing when to stop. Kind of like the metaphor of like gambling, and you're up a bunch of money and you just keep going and you just keep going down. So there's a need to know when to stop when you have good gains and success with Rahu in the 11th. Generally, it is a favorable energy though, and there's a big drive to be successful. It's a bit of a competitive energy, like you want to be successful in social groups, but you also want the group to succeed. It's not really selfish entirely. But there is some of that energy, but it's like if you're on a team, you want the team to be the best and do the best and make the most, whatever. Or if you want for yourself, like to reach new levels of success and fame, this is a powerful energy to reach a lot of success and fame and recognition and be rewarded for it, like to gain income through it. Especially if it's in your birth chart throughout life, you'll have this. But again, Rahu's insatiable. So if like you're struggling with finances, there may be the sign it's in or the placement of other things going on. But generally, this is very good for gaining wealth. There's an ability to strategize and pursue aspirations with intensity. There's an attraction towards innovative and unique social connections. So this is the kind of person who might be a bridge between, like in high school, it was like the goth kids, the skater kids, and the prep kids, and the nerds, all these different groups. Rahu in the 11th is the kind of person who can be a friend to all of them and kind of connect them. And you should meet this person, you connect with that, and make these kind of interesting connections and groupings, and that lead to more opportunities for everybody. So it's a great energy for a friend to have, to be a friend. When you go through it, you're more likely to meet a lot of new people, make new friendships, and also increase your status and like get positive reviews on your work and more income. The 11th house is what you gain from the work that you do. So if you're not working, you don't get these fruits. But if you're working, you're putting in the time and the work of the 10th house. The Rahu in the 11th brings you a lot of resources and fruits and acknowledgement. But of course, in the Bhagavad Gita, as they say, you work for the love of the work, not for the fruits of the effort. And if you focus on the fruits of the effort, you're going to suffer. You're going to become greedy, controlling. It's not good. So that's Rahu in the 11th could bring that potential to become more obsessed with the fruits of the effort. If you have Rahu in your 12th house, or you're going through a transit of Rahu in the 12th house, then from birth, you have this interest in mysticism, occult, and hidden knowledge, spiritual studies. So this is a great place for things like astrology, personal growth work. It's a great potential for spiritual awakening and unconventional experiences. This is the kind of energy where you're drawn to retreats or temples or meditation studios or yoga studios. Things like astrology trainings, learning foreign concepts, and things that are outside of what you grew up in, where you grew up. Very likely to have spiritual awakening in your life, like some sort of moment where it's like you see the world differently, you break out of the patterns and the sort of mundane of what you grew up in, and you look for a different way of being. This is favorable for research or exploration of hidden truths, like if you want to look at the inner workings of things, psychology, spirituality, quantum physics, understanding like what really makes something the way it is. There's an ability to break boundaries and innovate, especially when you're in seclusion. So you may find it very helpful for you to go on retreats or go into a cabin in the woods and find yourself. And the 12th house is isolation. Rahu is this insatiable need. So it's going to be very nourishing for you to actually have time in solitude, in contemplation, in meditation. Going to meditation retreats, yoga retreats, very good for this. And when you have the transits, that's a great time to go on these kind of things, because it ends up putting Ketu in the 6th house, and that's a detachment from the daily routine. So you need to break out of the daily routine when the transit happens. But in your birth chart, it's like, it can be difficult to maintain a daily routine with this. And there could be a tendency towards obsessing with needing to be isolated and have alone time and illusions about it, like thinking, once I have this retreat, then everything will be better. That's kind of working backwards, right? You don't want to think once I do X, then I will have Y. But Rahu can be like an escapist kind of tendency. Once I get some space, once I take a retreat, then I'll feel better. You're always kind of putting your happiness off in the distance when you do stuff like that. So it's knowing, you might thrive by having a retreat or time in solitude or alone time or space, but it's not like you have to have it to feel a certain way. It helps you thrive. It may be very beneficial, but it's important to take the pressure off of that. There's challenges in dealing with hidden enemies or deceptions. Things like somebody lying to you or getting into a bad contract or something like that. It's important to get some perspective, like when you sign contracts, and let people show you who they are over time. But I think there's generally a bit of a skeptical kind of stance with this energy. So you're probably going to be quite skeptical of other people and kind of resistant to getting too caught up in any sort of routine or trap or long-term commitment. It can be resistant to that, like marriage or staying in a business for a long time. So you can have that, and I see it. People have it when they have this placement, but it's more work. Like it's not the easiest place for Rahu to be in terms of like daily life kind of stuff or mundane life or long-term commitments, things like that. Unless you're finding an outlet for it, like learning astrology, going on retreats regularly, even if it's just like once a year, you have a week to yourself. Like that's a great way to sort of harness this energy and not let it become insatiable and kind of overtake the life. There could be potential for restlessness or erratic behavior in solitude. This is a strong indicator towards escapist things like drugs and alcohol. And if you've struggled with that, I highly recommend having some support or help with it. And it's a very strong energy. Wherever Rahu is, there's a potential to become addicted to that house, to that thing for anybody. But in the 12th house, it's even stronger because it's the house of escape and moksha, liberation. So there's this need to like unplug, like get away, take a break, take a retreat. So make sure you're satisfying that need in a way that nourishes you and is healthy for you, and not in a way that is harmful or escapist or in some ways destructive. But it's there. Like, it needs to be harnessed. And we can't just pretend it's not there and like pretend that you don't have these tendencies or whatever. It's like just being aware of it and then choose to do it in the most constructive way you can, which could be like going to a yoga retreat, could also be like leading retreats. Like, I have one client who has a retreat center. Like, she has this placement. So she leads a retreat center, which has a lot of movement around it, but she can be in isolation in her little space when she needs to. People come to be isolated and be in retreat and in silence. So there's all this Rahu passion and drive and energy to go into that space, and she's harnessing it by providing that space. There could be difficulty in discerning reality from fantasy with this placement, and that's okay. Like, you can be very creative and innovative when you have that kind of perspective. But it could be a sense of like losing touch with yourself or reality at times, and time in solitude can help with that. But it's kind of like in the movie The Matrix, once Neo has seen the code of the Matrix, like, you can't unsee that. And when you have Rahu and Pisces, it's like you kind of see through a lot of stuff. So you can't forget that or turn it off or pretend you don't see it. So then it's like, what do you want to do with it? So this is, again, very good for like a spiritual teacher, somebody who helps others dispel their illusions. Like, if you ever get into recovery and 12-step work, then to become a sponsor to someone else is very good. Guiding people into their own solitude, going on darkness retreats, things like that, time in nature. But this is a very spiritual energy, and it needs to get away from the material in some way. And drugs and alcohol and addictions are one way to do it, but it's not the only way. Spirituality, nature, retreats, all these kind of things I mentioned are a good way to do it. But you have choice. You have choice in how to play the hand that you're dealt. And when the transits come through this, when you have it in your birth chart, this energy is present. And it's not necessarily good or bad. It's just there. And it's one of the best placements you can have for things to do with spirituality or astrology like this. So it may be very helpful for you to work in psychology, astrology, Reiki, energy work, things like this, where you're working with subtle energies, sort of lifting the veil, because you see through the veil and you can help others see through as well. And that's part of the karma of this. It's not just for you to have that realization and insight. It's for you to share that gift with others. And if you want to know more about your own Rahu placement and the transits and everything going on in your chart, book a reading at quietmindastrology.com.